Hey guys, it's Luna, and today I want to talk to you guys about the new Wrath of the Lich King mini set. And I just want to go over what I think are the top 5 cards that are going to influence Standard the most. Currently, right now in Standard, we have Mindlock, Miracle Rogue, and Boon Priest as the most powerful decks. Standard right now is currently revolving around just making really big minions, having a lot of card draw, or killing your opponent in a single turn with decks like Mindlock. So I think in order for these new cards to compete, we're going to try and look through that sort of lens, and we're only going to be really looking at cards that we think are going to impact Standard immediately. Some of these cards might have applications later in the future, but the goal today is to figure out what is going to shake up Standard the most. So without further ado, let's get into the first card. So for the first card, at number 5, we have Construct Quarter. Now, this is the new Death Knight location card. This card is really interesting because it's very flexible. You can use it proactively as a tempo tool to get a 4/5 minion with Rush, transforming a 1/1 or something, allowing you to control the board better. But it also can be used defensively to destroy a really big location, for example, or a really big boon. This is really nice in a deck like Unholy, for example, because these decks tend to struggle with dealing with really big minions, and their aggressive game plan is really strong against Miracle Rogue, but sometimes if you just are facing down a 10-10 on turn 3 or turn 4 or whatever, you don't really have any answers for it. But this card is a nice answer for it while also being a proactive tool in other matchups, so I think we'll see this card in the Unholy archetype. Probably won't really see it in Blood or Frost as much, but I think it's a really neat card. It gives a lot of flexibility, and I think right now in Standard, it's really important that your cards have a lot of flexibility. At number 4, we have Rotting Necromancer. Now, this card might surprise a lot of people. I don't think a lot of people seem to take Shadow Priest very seriously. Shadow Priest actually has seen, I wouldn't say great success on ladder, but there are certain players like Tom, for example, who have been innovating with it and have had slightly above 50% win rate with it. And we've seen a lot more Shadow Priest support in the most recent set. This card seems pretty good on the surface. It deals 5, and Shadow Priest in general is going to be a burn deck that tries to play really beefy minions. So this card kind of acts as a finisher while also trying to set up your next turn. It has a lot of decent stats, and it's not a symmetrical effect. Usually if you're going to be dealing 5 with Priest, you're going to be taking 5 damage as well. This card's pretty unique in the sense that it's just going to deal 5 damage to your opponent. But yeah, I think it's really decently statted. There's a lot of undead minions, so the chances of hitting an undead at the bottom are going to be super high. And there's also the new 1 mana deal 3 or deal 2, or I forget if it's deal 2 or deal 3, but it deals 3 to the opponent's hero. So there's more support for Shadow Priest is my point, and I'm not really sure if Shadow Priest is going to see a lot of play in Standard, but I like the fact that it's getting more support, and I think if some of the top decks get nerfed, it could be a contender. I know when I'm playing Mindlock, Shadow Priest can be a hard matchup sometimes, and a card like this can replace a card like Void Shard as a finisher while also being a good on-curve card. So I think this card's really good. Definitely a card that I think a lot of people are sleeping on. At number 3, I chose to go with the Curator. Now, this card is kind of a callback to the Curator, of course, which I think was a 7 mana 4/6, which drew a Murloc, a Dragon, and I think a Mech. This card is a lot more flexible. Of course, you're only going to be able to play in Pure Paladin. Pure Paladin, while not being a tier 1 deck at the moment, is solidly a tier 2 deck. And if you go and look at the creature types, the Light Ray actually has a double type. It's a beast and an elemental. So the way this is worded, it'll actually draw both of the Light Rays, which can kind of soften the need to play Order in the Court. Now, you're still going to play Order for the Countess combo, but this card just being able to play it on curve and drawing both of the Light Rays can also draw a Sous Chef, which is an undead. And if you really want to, you can play Anachronos as well, which is a dragon. So this card can draw up to 4 cards. Actually, it can draw up to 5, Mech as well. So 5 mana 4/6 that can draw up to 5 cards depending on how you build your deck is super powerful. Just seems like a really solid card. Of course, card draw in Hearthstone is very important. Pure Paladin's always been on the cusp of being decent. This card might push it over the top and might make it maybe solid tier 1.5. Could even be tier 1 if we see other top decks being nerfed. So yeah, I think it's a really cool card. At number 2, we have a Shaman card, Blazing Transmutation. Now, this card is mostly good because of another new card, the 10 mana, I think it's a 10 mana 11/11 or 10/10 taunt that makes all your odd cards cost 1, and then it swaps every turn. Of course, you're going to use this card with null. But the cool thing is that there are also really other good 10 drops. You can get Local Art, you can get the 8/8 that has Death Rattle, summon an 8/8. So this card with null is basically going to allow you to be really flexible. If you want to set up for next turn, you can take the Giant Taunt minion. That's going to reduce your hand costs down to 1. If you're looking for something to just kill your opponent really fast, you can take Local R. If you're looking for something to kind of control the board, you can take the 8/8 Rush that has Death Rattle, summon an 8/8. So overall, just a super flexible card. There's also other applications as well. You know, let's say you're looking for something specific like the 5/5 that makes all minions cost 2 more, or if you're looking for a taunt minion, it just allows you a lot of flexibility. I think the slight downside of this card is when you compare it to something like Convincing Disguise. Convincing Disguise can be used as a whole board-wide evolve, which can be used with cards like Tinkering Toys. Whereas this card only can be used on 1 minion, and is only going to be really used with null. So if you don't draw null, this card is going to be a little bit weak. But I think the upside makes it really strong, and I think Shaman could potentially be a tier 1 contender. At number 1, we have another Shaman card. Now, this is my favorite card of the set. This might surprise a lot of people because I think on the surface it looks a lot weaker than Windchill. I actually posted on Twitter some of my thoughts on the card, trying to compare it to Windchill, see if people thought which one's better. Now, I think if you're looking for a cheap card draw effect, Windchill is going to be better because obviously it just like helps you cycle through your deck faster. It can be used in a pinch. But this card, if you compare it to Zola, it's much, much better. You know, where Zola is a 3 mana card effect, and it's even a standard, doesn't really see a lot of play, and I think that's purely because of the mana cost. The mana cost is pretty prohibitive, but having a 1 mana spell that's super flexible, that doesn't have to just be used as a Zola effect, but can also be used to, you know, copy one of your opponent's minions, or it can be used as a tempo option, or you can even use it as on your null before I transform to get an additional null, so on the next turn you can play another null evolve. It has a lot of applications. It's probably one of the most flexible cards of the set, which I think is like kind of the hallmark of Hearthstone right now. I think in order for a card to be good, it needs to be flexible, and this card definitely fits that bill. People are already coming up with combos. I know Jomri posted a combo on Twitter with this card and Kragwa and the 3/3 that repeats your last battle cry and Blazing Cold as a way you can just like keep getting infinite cold storages and infinite value. So people are already coming up with ways to build their deck around this card and create infinite copies. And as we know, Shaman in the past, we've seen Shutterwalk Shaman, so Shaman's kind of a specialty for making infinite value decks. So this card's really cool. It enables combos. It's very flexible. It can be used with null. This card really just does everything, and then on top of it, it's only 1 mana. It's definitely my favorite card of the set, and I'm really interested to see where things go. So hopefully this video gave you guys some ideas of some of the new cards that are going to be shaking up the meta. Let me know if you guys agree or disagree, or if there's any cards you think I missed that are really good. And as always, feel free to like and subscribe. Follow me. I stream on Twitch a lot and post on Twitter if you guys want to hear my thoughts on some more cards. And I look forward to reading your guys' comments. Later!